You are watching the Nerdrotic channel, nerdrotic.com.
And we are back. And we are not live on YouTube. My name is Gary Beekler. I'm from Nerdrotic.com. I come to you from San Francisco, California, and I am with my two co-hosts, my lovely and talented co-hosts. First, we have Chris Ortiz down in Burbank, California, and Dennis Pathaukis down in San Diego. What is up, guys?
What's going on, dude?
I heard you got us banned.
We are currently not recording this on our YouTube. We're recording it on one of my other 50 Gmail sites because we got a strike tonight. Don't know why. It might have been the baby killing thing. I wasn't sure. I didn't think that was against the rules. Honestly.
It's an honest mistake, Gary. You can't blame yourself for it.
This is how I stay young looking. I bathe in baby blood.
Hey, it worked for that one lady. God damn it, I'm forgetting her name and stuff. But you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah. Barbara Streisand.
Yeah. I was actually thinking of Celine Dion.
Celine Dion. Oh God. Titanic, bro. Think of Leo. Okay. We're here to talk about Preacher Season 2, Episode 4, Viktor. And this was a pretty good episode, guy. It was kind of a slow burner. I'm used to a much more kind of gonzo frenetic pace with this show, but tonight was more cerebral, still very entertaining. And honestly, we usually have our Cassidy line of the week. I'm not going to bury the lead here. The best line of the week was not by Cassidy. It was by an extra. So, guys, so we start out. We find out pretty quick what we had this really intense music at the end of the last episode, and then it continued right after, and then she just walks into a door. So I was expecting a little more than that. It wasn't as crazy. For one, we didn't have an episode starting out with some heads exploding and a big gunshot. So we find out who Viktor is. And again, we're not going to bury the lead on this one. Viktor's her husband. What the fuck? So we're going completely off comic book on this one, guys. How are you feeling about this?
I mean, it's an adaptation, and I'm one of those few people that don't like direct adaptations all the time and everything, unless you're taking the best elements of it. I think the most important thing when you're adapting something is you maintain the spirit of the original material, which the show is doing in spades. So I'm okay with it, and I think the producers, the showrunners, the writers, et cetera, I think they've earned a little bit of leeway in terms of, diverting the story into a direction that's different from the comic books. And I'm curious to see, where they're going to go with different things and, that type of stuff. Dennis, how do you feel about it?
I didn't have a problem with it, honestly. Honestly, I don't remember the comic too well. I know I read it a long time ago, so I didn't know they had diverged from the comic, and so it didn't really bother me. Sure, having Viktor be your husband is kind of a little cliche, but still at the same time.
I will say that it is a little bit like, really, the husband, that's the best you guys could do with this character?
Yeah, I was worried about the Viktor storyline because there is so many other ones that we talked about this last week that are so fucking good. It seems like they're trying to shoehorn more Tulip in, and there really is plenty from the comic you don't need to make up. I don't have a problem with it either. It was good for a shock moment, and it did. Actually, I didn't see it coming at all. I actually think the adaptation has been great so far. I think they really captured. All they need to do is capture the spirit of the book, which they absolutely have. I was just watching another show, Dirt Gently, which I started out liking, and I finally watched the last 2 episodes, and I absolutely hated it because it didn't capture anything Douglas Adams at all. It's got a character with a Douglas Adams, a Douglas Adams character in a show, and that's all. And that's crap. This is good. We love Garth Ennis. We're going to change the story to make it, for one, it's a lot of the stuff in the comic book is impossible for TV. But they're getting close, which is really good.
Well, they're getting as close as they can to it. You had last episode with them going to see quote unquote God. That was definitely, of course, probably a homage, the word of the day. See how fancy we're getting, guys. To what's his face, Marquis de Sade, or whatever the heck that guy is, when he has the giant orgy party in like the mansion in Volume 2. And I think in this one you definitely like you still see some of the roots of it in the comic book, but I also think they're going into new and interesting directions that I really like. I don't want to divulge into it too much until we get to this part of the episode. Like, for instance, I love the way they're portraying hell. I think the way they're portraying hell in this is brilliant.
Oh, and that's honestly the best part of this episode is we have Eugene and Adolf. They're buddies. They become buddies in hell.
Eugene and Adolf in hell again.
What was that?
Tyler with his little pop-up collar.
Oh, we won't forget Tyler, that the biggest dick in hell is a frat boy.
Oh, God. I mean, that is just brilliant.
Which is funny. So hell has got a glitch. And do you think it might have anything to do with the Saint of Killers escaping, which they finally acknowledge, by the way? We also got to acknowledge that, and I'm forgetting his name because I don't know wrestlers, but that giant wrestler who's on Fox News is one of the guards in hell. He's on some Fox News show. Yeah. I don't watch it. I've just seen it. So
I don't know if it's the Saint of Killers that is causing a glitch in hell. I do love that hell is this very almost Kafka-esque, Gilliam-esque Brazil place where it's kind of like this there's almost this near corporate hierarchy to it. And I also love that when she says the line in the show where she's like, yeah, hell wasn't built to handle this many people. We're facing a lot of problems right now.
Yeah, we're underfunded.
Yeah, we're underfunded. I almost want an entire episode of just seeing a business meeting in hell of how are you underfunded in hell? Does God give you a budget and you have to adhere to that? Is that how it works?
I think it's just all a part of your hell experience. Bureaucracy is part of hell. I think it is utterly perfect. They do acknowledge that the Saint of Killers is out. They towards the end there, they go, how did he get out? It was right before they talked to Eugene for the final time. They're all, well, we better do something about it or we'll have to deal with him. So him has got to be Satan. So Satan is still alive. Trying not to spoil something from the comic, but I guess he's still around, which will be very interesting if they bring him in. Actually, you know what, guys? All last season, the whole methane thing, remember when they would show shots of the methane gas coming out, which was foreshadowing the explosion, which I totally missed that foreshadowing. I thought it was hell's coming up. I thought it was just
I thought so too. No, when you're not alone with that one.
Okay, good. I thought
you're not alone. I actually thought that it was going to be revealed that Quinn Cannon was actually Satan in disguise or something like that, and that was a portal to hell or something along those lines.
Yeah. Dennis?
For me, no, I didn't actually catch that, the whole thing with the methane coming off or anything like that. I didn't see that, to tell you the truth. So and for I don't know, the whole Santa Killers thing, escaping from hell, I actually didn't catch that either, to tell you the truth. This episode for some reason kind of left me it kind of felt like a filler episode more than anything else.
It definitely was.
It was a filler episode. There's no question about that in my mind. I mean, that's why you also have Jesse getting obsessed with that videotape for the majority of the episode, because they're well, we got to get at episode 5 at some point.
That went on way too long. I mean, it was funny. The payoff was funny, but only because of that line does that thing even deserve to exist. So
that, and props to Frankie Muniz for filming the most useless cameo possible and being totally cool with it. It seemed like in a fucking show when he just shows up, he's like, "Hi, I'm Frankie Muniz, and I'm from Malcolm in the Middle." That's all.
Oh yeah. I mean, he probably does Blow with Seth Rogen or something like that, and they were just there that day and let's shoot a fucking let's shoot a cameo, which is funny as hell. It was a great cameo, it was a great infomercial, but that whole thing went too long, and we're underusing Cassidy at this point. Right now, he's gone kind of mute.
Would you say they're underusing him, or would you say that they're holding him back until later episodes at this point in time? Because we've seen the trailers. I think it's safe to say that some of his less nice side, I think his more sinister side is going to start coming out in the next couple of episodes, judging from what I've seen in the trailers. So I wonder if they're kind of holding back on him a little bit or trying to make him like kind of a little bit more of a nice guy to like, pull the shock of like, when we start finding out what kind of person he really is, without going into spoilers from what he does in the comic books. Because needless to say, the man has a darker side than we've seen at this point.
I think he's got a lot of layers. I don't think genuinely he is a bad person. He's just a drug addict and a self-serving one at that. And we do find out, we do meet one of his friends maybe later. We do find out stuff about, I don't know if it's a friend or not. I might have misinterpreted that in the trailer. We definitely find out. Cassidy is my favorite character. He's a fucked up character, and So maybe they maybe they're just trying to like give Tulip some time because she's not going to have a lot later. I mean, honestly, I don't know how she's gonna. I mean, she'll fit in the story later, but they're really pressing what you were talking about in the first podcast, Chris, that whole Angelville thing. And I just made a connection because I was rewatching some of the episodes of something I totally missed. Was when in season 1, when Jesse's dad is executed, the guy's tattoo was the skull and star that's on the Angelville poster.
Oh wow, yeah, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Like, because obviously you see the Angelville poster, and if you're a fan of the comic books, you're like, what the? Which also makes me really interested because I'm really curious when and if they decide to reveal that plot and that development in Jesse's character, how that aspect is going to be explored. Because it looks like they're already going to be going in a different direction than they are in the comic books. A very interesting direction, but a different one nonetheless.
I think right now, they set up, there was a lot of setup this episode, but nothing much happened. I think they could have told you that Viktor was the husband like halfway through, guys. You think that would have been better? Or maybe we could have had the Grail come in, because they're coming in. I mean, the guy with the twisty sign came in and said, I'm in position. And that's the only thing we saw. So they do a big reveal of the Grail last episode, and they talk about it once and don't go back to it. That was, I don't know. I think they were a
little scared to put it quite bluntly. I think they were a little scared to blow their wad early.
There isn't that many episodes. So, I mean, if they're scared, if you're filling episodes, I talked about this last podcast, even in a 12 episode season, that's bad.
Yeah.
I'll, Jessica Jones and Iron Fist and Luke Cage, which should have been 8, then make it 10, make it shorter. It's okay. I'd rather have it be good.
I'd rather have 10. I'd rather have 10 out 8, 9, 10 out of 10 episodes than 12 episodes where some of them are amazing, but then I got 2 or 3 that are like 6 or 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it's not like there wasn't a good moments in here. I mean, the fight scene was cool. That's another cool fight scene we got from Jesse, but that's 2 in a row. I mean, like they're kind of blowing their wad on that too.
Well, I'm calling it right now. I have a theory about why you're seeing Jesse fight so well. It's because you know who I'm talking about. They're going to introduce a character, I think, before the end of this season. And by that point in time, we're going to be used to Jesse beating up everybody. And he is going to just utterly beat Jesse to a pulp. And you know the person that I'm talking about.
Yep.
I can't folks. Sorry, I know it's frustratingly vague, but trust me when I say you don't. If it's who I think it is, you don't want me to spoil this moment for you.
Speaking of fear, going back to that, I got a lot of in this episode, Cassidy being afraid of Jesse.
I think you're right. What particular scene and what particular scenes, Dennis? 'Cause I get what you mean, but I'm curious about like which areas you're talking about.
Well, the whole thing when he's dancing around, telling Tim that Tulip has gone to go and see Viktor, or that, she didn't want to be in New Orleans, all that kind of stuff. And we haven't seen it up until this episode of Cassidy actually being afraid of Jesse. And for some reason, this episode, it was just, that's all he was exuding was like, he didn't want to tell Jesse, and normally it was very un-Cassidy like.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of weird.
I think he genuinely likes Jesse, and he doesn't want to fuck him over. Although Cassidy knows he is going to. I mean, it is inevitable, and that is the fear of a drug addict. And speaking as a grateful recovering drug addict, like I'll give you an example. I mean, just you rip off a friend, you take $20 out of his wallet or something like that, or you empty his ATM, or you do whatever drug addicts do, and then you got to like face your friend the next. I mean, you're the kind of guy, you're like, I still love you. It was nothing personal. I just needed to feed the beast. You know, that's hard shit to explain. So I mean, that's
No, I
that's
understand that.
real drug. So I think he was just afraid of pissing his mate off. That's it. I don't think he was. I mean, do you think he's? Are you saying he's like afraid of the power?
He's afraid of the power, I think, is what it is. Because just in this episode, everything else, the previous episode, we go to New Orleans. He's very happy-go-lucky, just kind of going with the flow, kind of like, you know, when we go and see Man Dog. It's $4,000 for this, $8,000 for this. He goes, what are you doing? Paying the man. You know, he's just really kind of going with the flow of things. And then all of a sudden, he's really, really like standoffish in this episode as to, you know, telling Jesse anything, or, you know, have you talked to Tulip? Have you gotten a hold of Tulip? Have you called Tulip? And he's just being very kind of tiptoeing and being fearful of all this stuff, kind of like it's going to set Jesse off almost. And I just found it really weird.
I think that might have been bad writing. Because I think that he was just trying to drop hints, and he even said it. He's like, I've been trying to drop hints to you all night, but I didn't catch that. It didn't feel like that. I totally get what you're saying. It feels like, it felt. That's why I said it was like, is this a muted Cassidy, or maybe it's just an underwritten Cassidy? Do you think that? I mean, that could be it, or do you think there might be?
Go back and watch it again, and you'll see he's very, even when he's finally telling them the truth, when he's telling Jesse what happened, what Tulip told him, he's almost kind of like flinching, like he's waiting for something to happen for Jesse to, like, you know, use the power on him or something. And
maybe he's afraid of the power. Yeah. I would be. I mean, didn't he actually use it on Tulip? You know, and
he used it on Cassidy too.
Yeah, he used it on dude, that was badass, by the way. That was a great moment.
Oh, when he just walks in there, he's just like, oh, fuck it, I don't care.
Shut up, blah, 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 you know, get the fuck out. You know, that's, you know, that was, man, Jesse. And, you know, Jesse is a badass. I mean, he is a little badass. It's sometimes I just got to remember I'm watching a TV show, because, okay, I noticed things like last week when Tulip was walking into the laundromat, you could see her head came about this far above the bar on the door, and you're like, oh, she's very tiny. She's really tiny. That is a tiny girl. She's like 5 feet tall. And you know what? Dominic, what's his name? What's his real name?
Dominic
Cooper is not very tall either. So like seeing these guys kick ass, you know, on these giant guys, sometimes it's a little bit of a stretch. But the fight scenes in the last two episodes have been, I don't know if you got to agree. I thought they were filmed very well. I thought they were choreographed. They've kind of looked like the Daredevil choreographer.
I was just about to say, I was like, this fight scene was very Daredevil-esque in a way, because I like the fact that the fight scenes, they have a nice balance between being very brutal and serious and being extremely absurd.
It's like with the arm getting cut off.
Like, you know, it's like this really intense scene with him using the hose, and all of a sudden he uses the arm to kind of beat him off and everything. And then the way he's able to defeat him is just that he just has a longer, like, sharp, pointy thing that he's able to stick through somebody's body.
I was just like, rip your fucking earphones off. Rip the earphones off.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's best use of Uptown Girl.
That's a hell by itself. Sorry.
But the thing when Jesse actually kind of shoves that pole through the dead guy and into Pat, because that's his name is Pat.
Yep.
And Pat swings the knife around. I actually thought they stabbed each other.
Huh.
Because of the way, because it's in Pat's right hand, and he gets shoved right through, and he swings like this, and I
saw him swing.
Yeah, and it looked like he got into Jesse's side, because the way Jesse was standing there was almost like he had gotten stabbed, and the way and then the camera's like doing this weird panning around, but they didn't tilt down to see if he had gotten stabbed or not. So just kind of an odd,
Well, you never know. He could be stabbed, and we don't find out till next episode. That's the way the show rolls. Like, he'll be, holding Viktor, and then, he's my husband, and then Jesse passes out because he got stabbed. I was kind of, like, they're dismissing, like, Pat is a good bad guy. That's like, don't kill Pat. I mean, Pat, that was such a good throwaway bad guy. You know, the guy, the torturer who loves his job. Yes, cliche, but good. It's still good. Some cliche things can be very good. The torturer guy who like listens to Billy fucking Joel. Actually, he should die just for listening to Billy fucking Joel. Okay, you know what? I found something I like worse, like less than I like jazz. Billy Joel. Jazz is better than Billy Joel for sure. Absolutely. Actually, I'm kind of a hypocrite on that because there is some jazz I liked. To get super geeky on you is Nervous Man in a $4 Room, which is the soundtrack for Twilight Zone episode, is all jazz, and it's one of the best soundtracks ever. So there is some jazz I like. But yeah, not a lot else happened in this episode. The Eugene Hitler stuff was cool.
Where do you think they're going? Yeah, actually, you just took the words right out of my mouth.
Go for it. Ask.
Do you want to know the honest truth? I think I would love it if they did this. Although I have no idea the direction then they would take season 3 into. I would love it if at the end of this season, all of a sudden you have almost the literal apocalypse come to Earth, where all of a sudden Satan finds out who Jesse is. The angels all of a sudden from heaven are like, "Fuck, we got to get down there." God damn it, I'm blanking on their names, but the white suit guys and everything like that. The Grail, thank you. The Grail find out what's going on and stuff, and the Saint of Killers is there, and then they all just have like a giant battle in like New Orleans or wherever, or Texas or whatever the hell it is that they end up and stuff. Because
I think that's where they're going. I really. Yeah. Oh, by the way, that singer last night was Laura Featherstone. So that was Featherstone. She is part of the Grail. She's obsessed with Hair Star. She's like kind of in love with them or something like that, and then she, I guess, turns on him later in the book. Sorry, spoiler. But
hey Chris, actually, since you weren't here with us last episode when we did it, the jazz song in the last episode, remember they were talking about what it was, and Jesse didn't get it until he was talking to that guy who liked it.
Yeah, that also made me think about that, where I'm kind of like, I wonder if they're going to try to do like something very apocalyptic towards the end of this season. And like that's honestly, I think that's the direction they're going into.
And that's why God is walking the earth, is what we're saying, is because it's kind of like one final, you're kind of walking through the art gallery before it gets torn down.
Yeah.
It's
like the final countdown almost and stuff. Because like I say, I like either that, or I'm curious, maybe they'll do a Great Escape episode where like Jesse finally gets access to hell and he has to break Eugene out. But in order to break Eugene out, he also has to break Hitler out or something along those lines.
I mean, like the trailer shows that Eugene gets out at some point, or at least that's his spirit that's haunting.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe he gets it, like, because I don't know, just that like. God, I don't know. I just love the way they portray hell.
No, I've loved at first I was a little miffed, about Eugene's change of character, because I loved the whole like Kurt Cobain suicide thing, but I love what they're doing. I love what they're doing with Eugene, and especially with, he's down there in hell. It looks like Hitler's. I think Hitler's setting him up, by the way.
I agree 110%.
No way Seth Rogen's going to make Hitler a sweetie, okay? There's no way.
No. I would love it if, like, Eugene goes out and Hitler's like, he's like, "Come with me, Hitler." And he goes, No, you must go. And then right before he does, he just starts making out with Eugene in front of the screen.
That's what I was afraid was going to happen, like raping Eugene or something like that. But the thing with Hitler's memory is it happens in 1919, and that, I mean, he was in the army at that time. He was an artist too, but he was in the army, and this was right around the time where he gets quote unquote radical. I mean, he was always radical, but this was that's the year he becomes radicalized.
Well, that's the scene. Yeah. He's reliving his worst day, which is the day that he becomes radicalized. And you're going to go back to that scene because you haven't seen the end of that day. Because you're like, right now at this point in time, you're like, this day's going fine for him. Like,
today's going fine. But then he goes and infiltrates the communists, and that's where he hears the speech, and he gets in an argument. Apparently, this is all like what I've read. I don't know if any of this is true. It's just I got it out of a book. But he gets into an argument, and some of the other guys go, that guy's a good talker. He's maybe he'd be good for the movement. And they give him a pamphlet, and the rest is unfortunately history. But that.
Although one thing I do want to point out is this stuff, and this could be another way that the Hell storyline could go into, is that remember the scene where he's being interrogated, or he's in the warden's office, and she makes mention of the fact where she's like, "Why are you down here?"
Yeah.
Like, like,
nice,
and I think that might actually be and I think that may also come back at some point in time.
Well, I think Eugene is causing the glitch. That's
yes,
what I think.
That might be actually. Well, you might actually. That's your. I'm willing to bet you're right. Eugene is causing the glitch.
He's down there when you got somebody down there who's not supposed to be down there. You just had probably one of your biggest guys escape because of a couple angels. One of those angels might still be down there. We don't know how they come back to life when they're killed by a quote unquote god. And I loved when she was talking to him, the voice modulation thing.
Oh, just ever so subtle.
It was super cool. I love. God, I gotta give it up to fucking Seth Rogen, man. I mean, like, I don't like a lot of his movies, but creatively, this thing is amazing. I mean, it's the way it's shot, the technology they had down there, that little screen she was using. It looks like an old 40s typewriter, but it was a screen.
I'm telling you, man, I think they looked at Brazil when they were designing.
Totally.
It.
Oh no,
absolutely. I think they were looking at that because I was like looking at it. I'm like, this is a straight up Terry Gilliam shit.
No,
right
there's a lot of love to Gilliam, and that's a straight way to my black little heart. Is
even the shots in Hell when they're doing shots of the commander there, they did that kind of looking up, but also with a little bit of a tunnel vision, kind of thing, and that's Gilliam.
Gilliam does everything close up. He likes to do the fisheye lens kind of thing, and a little off kilter. One of the first places to do that on television, not on film, was the Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone did a lot of that weird, Twilight Zone. We could do a retro podcast on that all day long. I love Twilight Zone, but this was wonderfully weird. And the Hell scenes and the Eugene scenes were the best. So the Eugene and what was the frat boy's name again? Marty?
Tyler.
Why did I say Marty? Fuck. So Tyler kicks Hitler's ass supposedly, and they're all beating the shit out of him, going Heil Hitler. And it looks like for a second that Eugene's going to help him. But remember what the warden or whatever her name was said. Act accordingly. This is hell. So he starts
act accordingly. Yep.
Yeah, he starts kicking her, and that is that Eugene's survival instinct, or does Eugene have a little bit of a dark side?
I think Eugene definitely has a little bit of dark side. I think you'll see a little bit of it in later episodes on this show and stuff. But I agree with you 100%. I think actually now that I think Eugene's the one that's causing the glitch, and it would not surprise me if that calls the attention to Satan finding out that the Saint of Killers is gone, where he's kind of like, what the fuck? Wouldn't it be interesting? This is an interesting concept, especially coming from a semi-Catholic like myself. Wouldn't it be interesting if actually Satan came about and you find out he's the most righteous figure in the show, or he believes that he's doing purely the right thing by keeping all these souls in hell and stuff, that he's almost like a zealot to his own cause? Or something along those lines, where it's kind of like, it's almost like a role reversal thing, where he's more dignified than you could ever possibly, you know what I mean? Like that.
He's just a jailer. He probably,
he's like the Punisher. There's a better way to describe it. He's like the fucking Punisher.
There are some religions who think that he's just a jailer, or there's some religions who think he's misunderstood and good. It's up to you. I don't judge. That would be interesting. I do think they got to make. They still got to make him kind of evil, though. I mean, because
I agree. I'm not saying that he's going to come out and be a superhero or something like that.
No, not like Lucifer, the TV show, where he goes up to the earth to solve crimes in a formulaic fashion.
Read the graphic novel, folks. It's much better.
I know it's much better. It's much better. But we
Lucifer's bored in the graphic novel, which is actually a really fun Lucifer.
Yeah, no, CSI Lucifer on Fox. Yeah, my wife likes it.
Go to hell. Hell.
So, there wasn't much else to this episode, guys. We find out the big reveal at the end. Jesse gets into a fight. Eugene beats the shit out of Hitler, played by
Noah Tyler.
Noah Tyler playing Hitler again.
Who also played the guy who chopped the Kingslayer's hand off in Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yes.
No, it was kind of funny. Our last podcast there, I was mentioning to Gary in our pre-production meeting, it's like, I think this guy's played Hitler before. And we looked him up, and sure enough, he had played Hitler.
He's like those guys that keep playing King Arthur, or there's another actor that keeps playing the same role. I forget his name. Or the role.
Yeah, and just, to try to say the line right now, it was, I used to go to prostitutes, but now I am one. That was the line we fucked up at the beginning. So well delivered. That guy, if there's a fucking award for best one-off, that guy wins. That was fucking brilliant. What was I did oh
God, we haven't even talked about
line.
No, we got a Cassidy thing in this. He pretends to be speaking of Game of Thrones. I can't believe you forgot about it.
The game, it was kind of funny. I don't think the joke totally landed. I love how he negotiated it. I love how he negotiated it down. Like he's all, we want to fly. He's all, we want to fly first class.
Dinklage even flies coach.
Business coach.
Yeah, that was the line I was just about to go to. Is and something Jesse said, and Cassidy says, "Oh, he's just French. It's just French. That's how they do." I need to do. Okay, Frankie Muniz, Tulip. Yeah, that's about it from this episode, guys. There wasn't a lot. Next episode looks good. Oh, well, we did get the Saint of Killers at the end. That was, yes. It was like wondering where the fuck he was. But he was just on a long walk, and he's walking down the middle of the freeway, which was badass. And
he was in a pedestrian. He was in the pedestrian walkway on the bridge there.
Was that a pedestrian? No, that looked like the middle of the. There's a pedestrian walkway on the bridge going into New Orleans.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Brooklyn Bridge, how you have those pedestrian walkways on the side. So it actually had a bike and a little person walking, like painted on the street there.
Oh, I see. It would have been more badass if he was just walking down the middle of the fucking freeway. I'm a little disappointed that the Saint of Killers decided to use the pedestrian walkway. that kind of takes it away.
Saint of Killers is a lot of things, but he respects civil law.
Civil fucking traffic laws.
Civil fucking traffic laws are laws that he won't even break.
Oh my god. I want to see him use his sword. Okay. God damn it. Man's got his sword.
I'm telling you, man, they are like getting everybody on a crash course to All Hell Will Break. All Hell. What's the name of the graphic novel from the series? All Hell's a Coming.
I never. I gotta go. Oh, I have some of the comics right here. As you can see, there's a little tulip right there, and there's there. Okay, so this is an opportunity right here to show you all. If I don't knock down our grand prize, this is a Steve Dillon signed #1 Preacher. So you comment, you go into the pot, you got to subscribe, comment, and you go into the pot. And at the end of the series, and the series finale, we will announce our winner for a Steve Dillon. Now, there's no COA. I'm your COA, okay? Because I'm the one who got the signature. So you'll just have to take my word for it. And it's like a 9. I'd say it's a 9.6. There's a couple little spine creases there. Sorry to say, but Christ, how old is this comic book now, guys?
So about 22 years
Almost
old.
20 years
old.
old.
In 1995.
Holy shit,
Gary! Did I ever tell you I started reading the comic book in church, like an actual church.
That's great. Look, Dad, it's a comic about a preacher.
Why is the church burning in the background, son? I don't know. Oh,
yeah.
Dad. No, I took out the first 2 volumes from the local library. And I had to go to like a church event, and I was just in the pews, and I'm like, all right, I'm bored. I'm just going to start reading this. And about like 2 issues in, I'm like, what the fuck did I just get?
Dude, yeah. When I first read it, my friend Doug turned me onto it, and I'm like, Preacher? When was writing a comic about it? And I read, the first 2 issues, I was like, what the fuck did I just read? It was just, and then you got covers like this, and I hope you didn't take this one to church. Glenn Fabry or Fabry, or I always say Fabry. I could be saying his name wrong. Probably the greatest cover artist to ever live. One of the top 3 for sure. I know it's getting a glare. Yeah, take that cover into church, guys and gals. That's Tulip, by the way. If you just watched the TV show, that was Tulip. Tulip's actually in the comic. She's not middle aged. She's middle aged, right? She's like 40. She's older than
40.
Jesse.
She's a little bit older than Jesse, but not too much older than him.
Maybe a couple years older. Yeah, because they're
still in their 30s, I think, in the comic.
They were. That's right. They were like little kitties together. She was a wayward orphan for a little while, and Jesse's dad took over and then sent her away. That's right. She's just drawn. She looks like Nina Hartley a little bit. She does, man. I'm not gonna go into who Nina Hartley is. Watch Boogie Nights. Nina Hartley's in Boogie Nights. Yeah. Okay. So, guys, you can catch all of our. Yeah. There's a couple. Yeah. I don't think you're gonna find them on IMDb. You might find them on PIMDb, but or PMDB, whatever the fuck it is. God, that site probably exists. Ugh. Yeah, I'm gonna be careful to link anything or even talk about any other websites, or I might get fucking strike from. There's like ISIS execution videos on YouTube, and I get a strike for putting a link. It for Christ's sake, YouTube. It's got to be a mistake. I am dressed like a priest. The night I dress like a priest, we get a strike from YouTube. Whatever. Okay. So guys, you can find all of our videos that aren't stricken off of YouTube on nerdrotic.com. Sarah, I said it. So if I say it but I can't write it, that's weird. You can find we have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/nerdrotic podcast. Please go there and like us and leave us a nice review. We are also on iTunes. Search Nerdrotic. Definitely, please. The more the more ratings we get, comments, the higher, the more traffic we get. It's just better. And we're obviously on our YouTube channel, which is the Nerdrotic channel. I have a Twitter handle. It's at Nerdrotics. Dennis is at DeForest. Chris is at what are you at? CJ Ortiz 86.
That is correct, Gary.
And John Reed is at John Reed 16. And my wife Melissa is at Agent Bossy Boots. She will be joining us for Game of Thrones, which is coming up next week. We got our Game of Thrones recap right after the show on our YouTube channel. I guess it won't be live because we are on restriction, but we'll get it up. It'll be up by 9 o'clock, so nobody will notice a difference at all. So yeah, that is it, guys. Any final words before we go out? Don't everybody talk at once.
No, guys, I've learned something over the past couple of weeks. Life sucks, but that's why God invented whiskey.
There you go. Dennis?
The door hit your ass on the way out, America.
May the small folk sing songs of your greatness. Good night, everybody.
Peace out, folks.
Next week.
You have been listening to a Nerdrotic podcast. Please subscribe.